How much hamstring flexibility do you need to run? Hamstring flexibility has been a hot button topic in the running world for some time now. And the question still remains, how much flexibility do we need to run? And does improving it help reduce your overall injury risk? Before we begin, let's learn a little bit about the hamstring muscle groups. The hamstring is a group of 3 muscles primarily that originate from the ischial tuberosity up on the pelvis and insert onto either the tibia or the fibula down below the knee. The names of these 3 muscles are the semitendinosus, the semimembranosus, and the biceps femoris. Collectively as a group, they either help extend the hip or they can flex the knee. More importantly, when we run, they are primarily used for hip extension during the stance phase or controlling knee extension when we are running in the late swing phases of running. Most of the peak forces that are experienced in the hamstrings are experienced in this late swing phase, controlling the knee extension of the knee before the foot hits the ground. As such, we need to make sure that number one, the hamstring is not only strong in this range of motion, but also has enough flexibility to be able to reach out into this range of motion, as ironically, this is where we typically see the most flexibility demands on the hamstring. Now this video is addressing the flexibility of the hamstrings. So the question remains, how much flexibility do we need? Well, there are no conclusive studies that show a gold standard amount of flexibility that we need. However, there have been studies that shown comparing injured groups versus non-injured groups, that the non-injured groups tend to have a little bit more hamstring flexibility than the injured groups. However, there are many studies that show stretching versus non-stretching groups that there are no difference in injury rates between the 2 groups. So where does this leave us? It seems like the evidence is self-contradictory in some sort of fashion. But rather than trying to overcomplicate things, let's look at how much hamstring flexibility do we actually need to run. If we look at the late swing phase of the running gait, we can determine how much hamstring flexibility we need. On average, we would need about 20 degrees of knee flexion with the hip flexed up to about 90 degrees. If you are a hurdler, then you would need even more hamstring flexibility in order for you to get your leg to come up and over the hurdle. If you are a ballerina or a gymnast, you would need even more flexibility to get your foot up over your head. For a runner, we need at least 20 degrees of knee flexion when our hip is at about 90 degrees. To test this, let's get you laying on your back. Let's bring your knee up over your hip and then extend your knee as high as you can before you start feeling resistance in the hamstring. Measure that angle. How many degrees of range of motion is there in the knee? If you have less than 20 degrees, meaning your knee can extend almost to where it is straight up, then you probably have enough hamstring flexibility to run. If it is less than 20 degrees, then we might need to work on your hamstring flexibility so that way we don't run into any mechanical problems when we run. In order to test this further, we need to determine if the tightness you are feeling is truly a muscle restriction in the length of the muscle, or is this tightness we feel because of either weakness or some sort of neuromuscular restriction because something is being guarded. To check this, we're going to do a couple of PNF activation techniques to see if we can improve the range of motion of this test. The way this works is you're going to be taking a rope or a belt and attaching it to your foot. You're going to bring your leg straight up overhead with a straight knee and go to the point of tightness in the hamstring. Then what you're going to do is you are going to contract your hamstring by trying to bring the leg back down to the table. But you are not going to allow this to happen. You're going to be holding your foot nice and still with the belt. So you're going to push down and hold for about 5 seconds and then relax. And as you relax, you're going to pull your leg up a little bit higher into the stretch. You're going to repeat this about 5 to 10 times. And then after you perform this stretching technique, I want you to get back onto your back and test the popliteal test. Lay on your back, bring the knee up above your hip, then you're going to extend the knee up as far as you can. You're going to take a measurement of the knee angle. Has it improved? Has it changed at all? If it has not changed at all, then we probably need to be working on improving the length of the muscle by doing some long duration, low load, long duration stretches over time. If you are now within the ranges of motion required to run, then we need to be doing more dynamic stretching before we run in order to help release your hamstrings. Some examples of low load, long duration stretches that we can perform is simply by standing up and placing your foot up on either a bench or a chair. In this position, you're going to be keeping your back nice and straight. And in this position, if your muscles are tight, you may already feel a stretch. If you do not feel a stretch, keeping your back nice and straight, you're going to be bending forward at the hips until a stretch is felt in the back of the hamstring. You can hold this position for at least 30 seconds initially, holding for 3 times. That volume of total amount of stretching would be about a minute and a half. And then over time, as you progress the stretch, you can gradually improve or increase the length of time that you are holding the stretch, gradually building up volumes until you're holding them for 5 to 10 minutes if need be. If you are performing low load, long duration stretches, it is important to note that there are many research studies that show if you do them prior to a run, that you have a risk of reducing performance or increasing your injury risk during the run. Therefore, we typically put low load, long duration stretches after your runs. Some examples of dynamic hamstring stretches include things like leg swings, soldier kicks, and hamstring scoops. And these can be done prior to your run in order to help improve the blood flow and the flexibility of your hamstrings before you go out and run. If you guys enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. Leave your comments and questions down in the comment section below. If you are interested in coaching services or running specific evaluations, check that out in the description box below. I hope you guys have a great day.